I, a 32-year-old female, have been married to my ex Dan, a 35-year-old male, for 6 years before we divorced at the end of 2020. The reason for our divorce was his infidelity with Kate. Kate and Dan have a son, a toddler, who was conceived and born during the pandemic while I was under high risk. Their entire affair has cost me not just mental, but also some of my physical health. After the divorce, Dan moved out of my house, and we haven't spoken since. Last week, Dan suddenly dropped his son at my house without any warning or explanation. He only mumbled that Kate was giving birth to their second child and needed him in the delivery room due to complications. He left before I could protest. I've tried texting and calling him multiple times, but have received no reply. I don't know why he thought it was a good idea, as I had plans that definitely didn't involve someone else's child. I ended up calling the police and told them what happened. I explained it wasn't my child, and I hadn't agreed to look after him, and Dan wasn't responding. The police took the child, and I didn't hear anything until the very early hours of the same day when my ex called, calling me an idiot. The cops found them in the hospital and forced him out of the delivery room so he could look after his child. Hence, he missed the birth of his second child, and Kate had some complications, so she's in intensive care. He also started shouting, saying that his and Kate's parents are living at opposite ends of the country and have medical conditions, which means they can't look after his son. I told him that he should have used his brain cells and thought about it in advance instead of dumping the product of his affair at my house, knowing that he and I were not civil. He called me an even bigger idiot. I've mentioned this to some of my family and friends, and while some people are on my side, others agree with my ex, saying I should have looked after the kid and was an idiot for calling the cops. They argued that I hadn't spoken to this man in 3 years, and he suddenly turns up expecting me to look after the child he had with his affair partner. This is absolutely bonkers. Some said it was a bit rich of him to expect me to care about any of that after he gave zero consideration to my health. Of course, it was a very crappy situation for the child to be in, but that's not my fault or responsibility. His dad put him in that situation, and I am not the idiot. Also, honestly, I should cut out the people who think what he did is okay. I mean, I do feel for that poor kid being dropped off at a total stranger's house, who then calls the police, and the police take him to his dad. His dad is stressed and furious, and that must have been a traumatizing night for him. But I didn't decide to traumatize the boy like that. His dad did. Of course, his dad should have figured out ahead of time. What was the plan for looking after a 3-year-old if his mom had to go to the hospital? Of course, the plan should not have included dumping the boy on his ex with no notice. The cheating ex isn't the only one at fault. Good old Kate, the affair partner, was involved too. What to do with the child should have, and likely was, part of their birthing plan. They had a good 8 months to figure this out. Don't either of these mental giants have friends? Their best option was to drop the boy off at a stranger's home, expecting the stranger just to accept the situation. It's not like the child was put into the foster system. They just returned him to the responsible, cough, cough, party. Good old Kate was involved too. We have no idea, honestly. Maybe Kate had devised a better plan than dumping my kid at your ex's, but Dan didn't want to carry it out. The person whom we know was at fault was the daddy. It's bizarre to think she would be okay with her kid being dropped off with her husband's ex. I would freak out even if he suggested it. Well, she did think it was okay to be a mistress, so it makes you wonder what kind of lovely people those two are. Do they have no friends who could do some semi-predictable emergency babysitting, or did they exhaust everyone's willingness with previous BS already? My wife is giving birth. Who do I trust to wash my child? Strangers I pay? No. Friends? I don't have any. Oh, I know. A woman who is essentially my enemy. Bonkers. Alpi, you don't have to be a doormat to be a good human being. I, a 19-year-old female who is autistic, and no one else in my family is, have a brother, Marcus, 29, who who got married to Lilith, 28, 6 years ago. They lived away from here, so I didn't know her that well until they moved back here a bit over a year ago. I was really happy at first to have my brother around more, but that happiness didn't last long. It started with Lilith referring to me as it. I told her she could use she or they for me, but it made me uncomfortable, and she apologized. Then she did it again, and when I corrected her, she said it was just a joke. I told her that it wasn't funny and not to do it. A while after that, I was having a hard time and needed to leave bowling early. I heard Lilith say to Marcus as I was leaving, "Don't feel bad. It isn't your fault it restarted." If you don't know, restarted is a variation of a slur. I was upset and talked to Marcus a couple of days later, and they told me she was just joking. I told him that it bothered me, and he said he would talk to her. Fast forward a bit, and my fiancé, Shah, 28, male, shows me a conversation he had with Lilith over text. She'd insinuated that he has a kink for restarted girls. Shay was very upset that she had said this, and so was I. I tried to talk to Marcus, but he just told me that Lilith has a dark sense of humor and that she didn't mean to upset anyone. I felt hurt by this, still, so when we made invites, we didn't include Marcus or Lilith. When they asked about it, I just explained why I chose what I did. They were livid. Now my family is saying that if I don't let Marcus and Lilith come, they won't. They bring it up whenever I see them or try to talk to them, and tell me I'm being an idiot about it. Edit. My family knows about the texts already. They just think I'm being dramatic and weird about it. Jokes that are hurtful, especially after being told more than once how they make you feel, are not jokes. They are intentional cruelty. She's horrible. Your brother must be blind to it. But you are not the idiot for not wanting her and her enabling partner around you. Sadly, I'm so sorry your brother isn't defending you from her abuse. It sounds like you're right about making some space between the two of you. Unfortunately, your family is outing themselves as people who believe the filth she's saying. I'm so sorry. You don't deserve to be treated this way. She's not joking. She's bullying. And they need to stop making excuses. Ask them if her jokes are funny. Moreover, what about you having autism is funny enough to warrant those jokes? Do they think what she says is funny? I'm glad your fiancé, Shah, is on your side. Let them not come. By refusing to come, they show they are signing off and agreeing with her. You shouldn't have your wedding day ruined by someone who speaks so rudely of you and is permitted to by your own family. Wait, you're engaged at 19 years old and your fiancé is 28. Bro, how long have you and your fiancé dated or been together? I'm still a bit shocked. You're 19. Your brain isn't even fully formed yet. Do not get married to a man nearly a decade your senior. Forget your brother and really think about what you're doing. Mature 28-year-olds don't want to date teens. As rude as your sister-in-law was, she sadly possibly has a point. The 28-year-old groom-to-be's motives are highly suspect. More than likely, he's looking for a young girl to control, and OP fits the profile. OP, you are the idiot for marrying someone at a completely different life stage than you. I know plenty of my friends who had a first marriage to get out of a bad home life situation. They're divorced with a bandwagon of relationship trauma, or they got baby trapped and are miserable as heck, as they spent their youth on the wrong person. I've been with my husband for 22 years. We have 4 children, ages 20, nearly adult, a young grammar schooler, and a newborn. Before my youngest, I'd given birth to my angel baby, who lived 8 minutes and was born prematurely. My next child was born with Down syndrome and a heart defect. She needed multiple surgeries at birth, but now she is thriving. I know you guys are probably thinking, why would I have another baby after this? It wasn't really planned. My mother has said since the beginning of my pregnancy about termination, how I'm too old, and how something certainly will be wrong with this baby as well. It was stressful and heart-wrenching. My husband told me that I shouldn't tell her when I was going into labor because she would make it stressful for me. 9 days ago, I gave birth to my healthy baby girl at the age of 44, with no health issues. After I came home and rested for a few days, I invited my mother over. When she got there, she began to cry and said she couldn't believe I would exclude her. I told her I had no other choice, that she wasn't a healthy person to be around for my pregnancy. She accused me of silencing her freedom of speech and how she was only warning me, not setting me up for heartbreak. I said, "No, you made me worry more than I needed to." She then said I did this out of revenge and vindictiveness, and not for my own sake, but for my own satisfaction. We got into an argument, and my husband asked her to leave. I've been upset for days. She hasn't answered my calls. I really thought I was doing the right thing for myself, but now I feel selfish. Am I the idiot? Most importantly, congratulations on your sweet new baby. Secondly, congratulations on marrying a partner with a spine who has your back and will defend you. Finally, you're not the idiot. 99% of the time, using freedom of speech as an excuse means you were wrong. She knew she was pushing buttons, and she was out of line. She only hopes you will knuckle under and apologize to her, thereby rationalizing her bad behavior. Having a baby is one of the most vulnerable times in a woman's life. You should be surrounding yourself with support, help, and love. She can have all of her hurt feelings, but you are not in the wrong. Consider treading carefully here in the future. She may be as vindictive as she thinks you are. Freedom of speech protects you from the government, not the just in case. It's a concept that means you can say what you like without being arrested, not a free pass to be a jerk to people or a guarantee that what you say will be well received. Congratulations on a healthy baby girl. Your mother's reaction to seeing you'd had such a fortunate and wonderful event was to cry for herself. She seems very self-absorbed. It's a shame you seem so desperately inclined to believe that she will magically change her mind about how she feels about you one day. Your husband seems to be willing and able to protect you, and he seems to adore you. You have a terrific family. Why do you let someone so destructive play any role in your life? It's time to block your mother for your sake and the sake of your family. I, a 52-year-old female, have 2 daughters. My eldest daughter, who is 31, has been my wild child since she started walking. She's been climbing trees and terrorizing the wildlife, often coming home completely covered from head to toe in dirt and debris. As a teenager, she was rebellious, and I was constantly worried I'd get a call that she was dead or in jail. She moved out when she was 18 and was determined never to need our help. As an adult, she's mature and responsible. She has a master's degree in business and is involved in a hospital and a couple of doctor's offices. She met her husband, who is now 33, when she was 21, and those two were perfect for each other. They own a farm and have a set of triplets, having overcome infertility problems. They've never once asked for money or needed any help from us at all, except maybe to babysit every now and again. My youngest, 27, lives in a camper trailer with her husband. They have 5 children and she's pregnant again. They also have several cats and dogs. Both work, but both have low-paying jobs and refuse to do more. I gave her just as much as her sister to go to college, but she chose not to and spent it all. It seems like every week they need money for something. We pay most of their bills: power, water, car insurance, phones, etc. I don't want my grandchildren living in the dark, so I pay. Recently, my husband and I did our will and named our eldest as executor of the estate. We both have some serious health problems, so we figured it was time. Honestly, we should have done it sooner, but better late than never. Our eldest didn't say anything about the money and mostly just asked questions about what we wanted her to do, how we wanted our funerals, and if we wanted to be buried or cremated, what to do with the estate, etc. The normal end-of-life stuff. We, my husband and I, divided our inheritance, and our eldest got most of it. My reasoning is our youngest has used all of her inheritance in the money we're constantly having to give her. I divided out my jewelry and several other items equally for them, and when we pass, they are to sell our home and equally split it. Well, this has caused a huge issue with my youngest, who believes I'm favoring her sister. I don't believe so. Her sister simply has not needed any of her inheritance and is the more responsible of my daughters. I know when the time comes, she'll know what to do and will do what is necessary for everything. My youngest has decided to no longer speak to me, so I'm trying to figure out if I'm being an idiot. Edit. My youngest did far better in school than her sister. She was a straight A student and never needed even to study. My eldest struggled even to pass. My youngest could easily go to school and not have any problems. She just doesn't want to. She's a waitress at a Waffle House and has never tried to do anything else. Her husband is the same way. He's a stocker at a local grocery store and nothing more. They won't even clean. It looks like a tornado and a garbage truck collided in their yard and home. I'll bet she starts speaking to you when the next bill she can't pay arrives. It's your choice to divide your estate as you choose. No one is owed anything, and your younger daughter might just be a little too comfortable with getting her inheritance up front. She's chosen her life, and it's not up to you to pay for her choices now or in the future. If you're comfortable with your decision, that's all that matters. The youngest probably even thought, why spend the precious money on a pesky home when she'll probably inherit her mom and dad's home after all? Her sister doesn't need it. I would reconsider continuing to pay her now, though. What if your deaths aren't imminent as you think? Do you want her to drain your estate? Lord have mercy. I was the youngest daughter. I graduated from college and had a good job that I liked. Then I married a guy who was not a knight in shining armor, but a loser in tinfoil. I figured that out years later. We had 2 kids in 17 months. One was special needs. I worked 2 jobs. He couldn't or wouldn't keep a job to save his life. He ran up huge credit card debts to the point we had to declare bankruptcy. He took our house payment money and gambled. We lost the house. You get the picture. My parents bailed us out for the children's sake more than once. They told me I already had my inheritance, and to be honest, I wasn't even mad about it because it's true. I wish I ditched the loser years earlier, but I truly loved him until it just wore me down doing everything myself. My point, OP, is that you are not the idiot. Your daughter is probably a mix of angry and embarrassed. At least I was when I had to ask for help. Speaking from experience, lay some boundaries and stick to them. Why would they change if you bail them out over and over? I was horrified, but my then husband had no shame. He'd prefer to ask my parents for money than work. You're wise to let them know this in advance. Double check with a lawyer that the will can't be challenged. Good luck. It's not fun.